Welcome back to Casting with Keith, where we throw out some questions and we hope to reel in some answers. Keith, thanks for coming back.
Aaron, it's a pleasure to be with you again.
Well, as we all know, Lubbock can go from fall to winter in a drop of a hat. I've already got my vest on. It's getting cold real fast. So we wanted to kind of talk about school closures and just kind of what goes into that. So my first question is, how do we make the choice about whether we close or not?
Well, that's an interesting question, Aaron, and it's a question I get a lot from parents and students. A lot of information goes into the final decision, and so what we do is many people think that I just lick my finger, hold it up in the wind, and say, "Yeah, we're going to cancel school or not," or flip a coin. We may cancel school, we may not, or we may delay. The interesting thing is we use a lot of data points, so I'm going to try to walk everybody through those. And the first thing that we use is forecasting. We listen to the forecast. We have a direct line to the National Weather Service to talk to meteorologists. I use weather apps that give me hour-by-hour information in terms of the temperature, wind speed, moisture content. And by doing that, we use multiple pieces of information that give us data. Now, generally speaking, I don't like to make the final decision until the morning of because so many times things can change overnight. But I know many in the community, many of you parents and others wonder, why don't you just go ahead and cancel school if the weatherman says it's going to be bad? And I think it's because we've seen there's so many factors that go into it.
Yeah, I think one time we were talking, I painted my kitchen one day because when I was a young adult, school canceled and it was beautiful the next day.
Well, as crazy as West Texas weather is, you know that it can change drastically, even overnight. What's expected, what doesn't show up happening in the weather that's supposed to. So,
and do you? So you said you go out. So you're actually physically driving the roads early in the morning. Is it just you out there?
Yeah, we have a team. We have a team of individuals, and we have our transportation director, obviously because of the need to run buses. We have our police chief, we have grounds, we have other people that go out. Most of them start between 4 and 4:30, driving all the main roads, driving the main arteries, driving some neighborhood streets, and certainly driving around all 10 of our campuses to see what the conditions are like. Usually, I am out as well about 5 a.m. To make a determination. Now, there's times when it's just an obvious call that I don't have to get out, but 9 times out of 10, I am out as well, driving the roads, trying to make a decision. And the thing about it is that's so important is many of our parents work, and even if we cancel school or delay school, they still have to go in to their jobs. And what do you do with your children? We've got to make sure that kids are in a warm and safe environment. We obviously teach kids, but we also provide childcare. That's part of the school's role. And so when we cancel, when we delay, it impacts so many families and their children. And so that's all taken into consideration. That's why you want to make the right call, not just a call based upon the whim of a weatherman or a forecast.
So you take all those things into account of how it feels in the weather, how that's going to affect either direction, either we close or we don't close, because that does affect people in both directions. So if I'm a parent, how do I make sure that I'm up to date on whether that call has been made or not?
And I think it's important for parents to understand that we send out this information by 6 a.m. The morning of school in a variety of ways. First of all, you need to make sure that your current contact information, email and phone number, is in Skyward and it's updated, because that's going to be the first line for you to get a call or an email. We also make contact with all of the weather stations, all the TV stations in town and other media that need to know if we're having school or we're delaying school or if we're canceling school. And then the other thing that we do is if you follow our social media accounts, obviously our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, or X now as it's known, we make sure that we post those as soon as we know. Sometimes, Aaron, we'll know the night before, but that's a rare occasion. And it's when the weather is so bad the night before and the temperature is so low and maybe the moisture content is so high that it's impossible to wait till the morning to make a decision. I know parents would like to know as soon as possible. and I take that in consideration when we make the call. But there's so many factors, again, that go into it, from ground temperature the day before to weather patterns to how low is the temperature going to be, is the wind blowing to knock the moisture off the roads. There's so many things that go into it. It's just not an exact science.
Well, and our district is so interesting because we're part city, we're part dirt road, we're part out of the city. So it may look good for me who drives up Indiana, but if I'm driving on Woodrow or one of those dirt roads, it may be a completely different situation.
You're exactly right. There have been times in the past that we have had clear roads kind of in the Lubbock city limits, but very icy roads out in the county, or vice versa. And you can't allow part of the district to go to school one day and part of it not to go to school. So we've got to make sure that we make the best call, because student safety is the most important. Now, we get 75,600 minutes, or we're required to use 75,600 minutes of instruction every year. And we have the ability to have some flexibility with those minutes. So, for instance, if we start school late by an hour one day, that just takes up a tiny fraction of those minutes. And if we have enough minutes banked by the way our schedule is set, we don't have to make it up. But over a period of time, and we experienced this last year, we actually had to make up a day because we had to miss, I think, 3 days of school back in January. And so, those decisions, I just want the public to know, I want you parents to know, and our community to know, these decisions are not made lightly. They are made after several hours with a lot of input from a lot of people and a lot of truly boots on the ground or tires on the pavement, driving the roads, trying to make a decision to keep kids safe, to allow parents to be able to go to work and make sure their kids are taken care of, and then to get the amount of instruction that we're required to by the state on a yearly basis.
Awesome. Well, Keith, I appreciate you being here as usual to clear up some of the questions that we have.
It's always a pleasure, and hopefully this information helps parents understand that it's a difficult process, but it's a good process to go through to make a decision.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.